Hi, I'm Bill Sheehy from Latin American Masters in Los Angeles, California, and we're looking at the work of Diego Rivera. This is a study by Rivera from 1925. Diego Rivera, for those of you who may not know, was born in 1886, worked in Europe for about 11 years, went to, after living in Paris, went to Italy where he studied the beautiful large-scale murals of the Renaissance, and then returned to Mexico, post-revolutionary Mexico, and in 1921 began a cycle of paintings that established him as one of the great artists of the 20th century. In fact, his masterpieces were done in Mexico City, the National Preparatory School, and at Chapingo Chapel. Most of that work, the most significant body of that work, was done in the 1920s. Rivera, he aside from the technical challenges of painting on a large scale, Rivera had to find his subject matter. What was the image of Mexico that he was going to give to the Mexico? And for that matter, why paint on large scale on walls, doing murals? Well, part of what he wanted to do was to communicate with a largely illiterate public and give them a sense of who they were apart from colonialism, apart from European culture, apart from the strictures of the Catholic Church and all of the various constrictions that came with that were imposed on them after the pre-Hispanic period. And in order to do that, Rivera had to find images that would convey that. And what he did and how he found his voice was he traveled down to Mexico, southern Mexico, first to the Yucatan, but even more importantly to the Isthmus of Tehuantepec near Oaxaca on the Pacific coast. And it was there that he saw the relationship of the indigenous people with the natural environment. And he saw the beauty of nature. He saw the dignity and strength of the indigenous women, and he saw the way in which they labored in relationship cooperatively with one another and with nature. And this really resonated in Rivera's work. And in fact, he made studies during this period and throughout the early 1920s that would remain in his collection and be a source for him for the rest of his working life. They were that important. What do we see when we look at the work? We see four women. Two of them, most dramatically, are reaching across a stream from opposite sides of the work, and they're touching hands. They may be passing something to one another, but they're touching in a way that whatever else it is a communication of the connection between them. And the other two women, together with the two that are touching, they form a very strong sense of community. It almost becomes, in an abstract sense, like a wheel, a sort of circulating. And they also have this quality that I think connects the work in some ways with the work of the great French painter Paul Gauguin, who you may remember left Europe and went to Polynesia and studied and became enamored of the Tahitian culture, another culture that was largely formed outside the influences of European culture and of the industrial age. So both Gauguin and Rivera have this in common. What else about the piece do I like? Well, I like very much the way in which these figures have a sort of bold sculptural quality to them. They're not super refined, but boy, they really have the line is very strong in these works, almost like sculpture. And I love the skin tones. I think the skin tones are very revealing. You can see that rather than merely a flat brown color, Rivera has mixed his tones with charcoal gray and with a tone of orange or terracotta that both evokes the feeling of earth, but also of the sun. There's a warmth there, and look at that figure on the left there as she reaches out. I mean, it's got this sort of a luminosity to it that where Rivera's saying these are really distinctly Mexican, brown-skinned people. They're beautiful, and they are living and a living expression of who we are as a people that has nothing to do with the modern age and everything to do with our ancestry. It's a wonderful example of Diego's work, and the last thing I would say about it is just in formal language is that I love the sort of curvature of that stream as it winds through the composition, and the way that's echoed in the round undulations of the shoulder of the woman and her arm. It has this very fluid quality all over. I hope you've enjoyed this brief talk. If you want to know more, please go to our website. Thank you.